All right, we're back right here and around midnight with the local boys. I'm Joe Carbonetta. I've got CJ Divine.
Is that what we're going to do today?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, you know what? I toggle back and forth between the two. I've never. It's not like I pre-plan it. I don't. I probably should, but I don't. And of course, Todd Fluker over here. He's manning the internets as always and doing a fantastic job.
Got
Todd.
2 clipboards over here, and you can't write down which name you want to use.
No, I like confusing everybody, especially since apparently you couldn't be bothered to fix your Twitter handle.
I can't use the one that I want. Somebody else has it. Believe it or not.
Who has Chevelle Divine?
I don't know.
Some guy named Chevelle.
Somebody has Chevelle. Somebody has CJ Divine. Somebody has C Divine. So
you're kidding me.
And Chevelle Divine is just so long.
There is no way that somebody else has that handle.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Nope.
There can't be another Chevelle Divine in the world.
Wait, so you're saying but Chevelle Divine is
fine.
Is
Chevelle Divine.
At Chevelle Divine.
Whatever.
See, I knew it. I knew he was lying. There is no other Chevelle Divine.
But I don't want that. That's so long.
What about at Chump?
That's probably taken.
I was going to suggest that too. But yeah,
Chump
okay.
Divine.
So going back to our conversation earlier, and you were discussing the idea that if you had your own weapon, that you could perhaps defend yourself. And I wanted to speak to that because it's an interesting premise and one that on the whole I agree with. But in this particular scenario, it wouldn't have done any good.
If the person in the next room had a weapon, it may have.
If the person in the next room, there was no person in the next room. That's the problem. And by the way, it's been discussed that this guy, this Stephen Paddock, actually set cameras out in the hallway, outside of his room, one looking one direction, one looking the other, so that he would know when the police or anybody else attempted to make a move on him. He actually took shots at a security guard, the first security guard who attempted to breach the room. And it wasn't until the SWAT team started moving in that he realized he didn't have a snowball's chance in where, and that's when he took himself out.
Here's my thing. With a situation like this...
Did you censor yourself from saying hell?
I did. I really did.
The thing with a situation like this is you can't use the extreme situation in order to change an entire culture or an entire history of a nation. Gun control is a real issue, but controlling the guns is not going to keep people from doing what he did.
Well, I agree. Like I said,
because even with this situation, first off, mass shootings like this are an exception to the rule when it comes to shootings in general.
Oh, yeah,
most shootings are small arms fire in close quarters in impoverished neighborhoods.
And when you think about the number of people who have firearms in their home versus the number of people that actually go out and commit some dastardly act like this, the numbers are pretty skewed.
Yeah. The numbers favor people having weapons, and nobody wants to hear that, or at least nobody wants to say that. I'll say it.
But see, in this instance, you couldn't use a handgun to defend yourself because you wouldn't have the accuracy or the range to return fire on this guy with a high-powered rifle.
I understand that, and again, this is a situation that is an exception. So I get tired. One of the things about anybody who wants me to be pro or anti whatever your little cause is you can't go to the extreme case and expect me to be able to modify my beliefs based on this one situation, this one isolated incident way off in the distance. If you can demonstrate to me that most people with weapons are hurting themselves or others or loved ones and using these weapons in a way that is not safe or not beneficial, I'm all in.
Well, you know that I love to play devil's advocate. In fact, it's part of my job over here in this chair. But there are those... Yeah, that's true. How the tables have turned. But there are those who would argue that that you don't feel this way or that you feel the way you do because what happened in Vegas last Sunday didn't affect you personally. Had it been you or your family members there, you might feel differently.
Okay, I have family members that have been shot.
Okay.
I have family members that have killed people, and I still feel this way.
Really?
Because criminals are criminals.
We're friends, right, Chevelle?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
Depends on how this conversation is.
Oh,
Okay.
So no, it wouldn't change my mind.
Okay.
Just like
at least he's honest, right?
And we can go back to the greatest tragedy in American history, 9/11. That didn't change my mind about having freedom from government intrusion, but the Patriot Act is still law. But just because some people from a totally foreign country, who may or may not have had local assistance, blew up the towers, doesn't mean that I think it's okay for the FBI to listen to every phone call I make. So, no, I don't think that you take these rare, extreme exceptions. That's why they're called extreme.
Yeah, then again, I would say you don't feel it's right for them to be monitoring your phone calls because you're not a terrorist and you're not plotting to blow anything up.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. But at the same time, they're not my phone lines, and if I was really that concerned about it, I could just go, live in another country with a gun.
Actually, you could just go and live in another state. I mean, open carry laws exist in Nevada.
Yeah.
And in fact,
we'll
as
see
it
how
turns
long
out,
that stays the case.
43 of the 50 states here, it is legal to own a fully automatic weapon.
Yeah.
California being, of course, one of the seven states that are the exception.
It's the states that are on the coast primarily, and I think like the major cities like Detroit, those types of cities in the Midwest. Other than that, everywhere else, it's not an issue.
So let's move into the
real quick. Kelly
All right.
has a comment on the YouTube chat.
Okay.
She says, also, she doesn't understand how mental health doesn't come into play more. No sane person can do such a thing. And she also hates that... Also, I hate this issue of needing your gun. How many of those people were gun holders, and what good did it do them?
Well,
again,
let's face it, it was a
it's an
country music
extreme
concert.
situation.
Probably a lot of them actually were
there
gun
probably were a
owners.
lot.
Yeah, it was
Probably-
probably.
and it-
I mean,
a large
it's already
number.
come out that
And
a
it
lot of
was in
them were
Nevada.
police officers
Yeah.
that are in there.
Yeah.
So guns,
And
country music, and police.
soldiers. Yeah, they talked about that one Marine guy.
But you know what? I'm actually going to say that I'm on your side. I've said this before. I do think that we should be allowed to actually carry concealed weapons. I have also said, however, that I think there should be an extensive background check done. I'm fully on board with submitting to a psychological evaluation.
I don't know that I agree with that.
I think that you should have to actually show proof that you've not only had a firearm safety course, but that you've actually gone to training to use the weapon, to shoot it and hit your target. I think with a certain level of proficiency.
I would be okay with the training. I would be okay with a basic background check. Because, I mean, we already have laws in the books about felons. If you've committed gun violence, I don't think you should be allowed to have a gun. But again, a lot of the people who are trying to push for this gun control are trying to push this because of criminal activity.
Mm-hmm. That's usually the inspiration for laws.
No one has ever given me a reason that says this guy's perfectly legal ownership of a firearm is dangerous to me. Because it's not. Anyone who is legally and lawfully using their weapon purely for self-defense or for sport, which is also a legal use, is not a threat. Criminals are threats. This man, no matter how he got his weapons, committed a criminal act. So it's the criminal act that is the problem, not the weapon. Granted, the weapon helped him to commit a heinous act.
Okay, but let's take a step back. And you're saying that you're not sure you agree with the whole psychological evaluation thing.
No, because I've seen where that has been used against people just to shut them down.
Let's take a step back here for a second, because this guy bought 33 weapons in the span of 12 months.
Yeah.
You don't think there's a red flag there? I mean, like I said, I'm all
I will
for the
answer your
whole
question like
idea
this.
of owning guns too. But when somebody walks in and starts buying gun after gun after gun, and they're building themselves a small arsenal in 12 months, I start wondering what's going on.